are again, dicking around on the garage. Here's the old 357, recently built. Got her partially tore down for inspection. So after you get one of these fucking things running, you run it for a while. It's got a couple hours of run time on it. Pretty well, it's long enough to establish wear patterns and shit. And if anything's gonna go haywire, it'll usually happen pretty quick. So you get some run time on it, get everything good and seated and shit, and you start just inspecting everything, checking bolt torques, go over every fucking bolt, tighten everything up. This shit will loosen up. This fucking thing vibrates. Especially mounted solid to a cradle on a concrete floor. You gotta vibrate like hell. And you look at your oil and shit. Look for any chunks, any metallic glitter, shit like that. Sure everything looks normal. Check all your push rods, valve springs. Everything looks fucking pretty much like it should. One thing I did notice though, this fucking stud girdle, I had them the top of the girdle here level with the edge of that bevel there. The fuckers vibrated down on me, and that's a good fucking 1/16 of an inch or better. So the fucking girdles moved on me. These are some old ass girdles. These poly locks, they don't even have set screws in them. You adjust them and then tighten up the fucking girdle, and that's what holds your lash. So I'm not real keen on them. But seeing that fucker move down that much, you can tell. I put this fucker together. All them rocker arms, they had at least a 1/4 inch of room between that girdle and the rocker. And they don't now. They didn't touch, but they come pretty fucking close. So I think I'm gonna peel these girdles off of here. I have another set I might use, some Yomars. They're a little more secure. Or I might just throw some fucking poly locks on them and let it ride. This is a pretty big cam, but it ain't so goddamn big. It's really gonna matter much. Which I prefer stud girdles and aluminum heads just because fucking material's softer. Shit moves around more. These are some old crane cam girdles from 40 fucking years ago. They do the job, but I don't know why them bastards moved down on me like that. Kinda odd. The bolts could have loosened up. It's that vibration. A lot of times you have to go over shit and keep tightening shit up until it takes a seat. Eventually, it's like header bolts. Put them in, you run them for a bit, and go back over them. They loosened up. You tighten them up again. Run them more. You go back over them, tighten them up again. Eventually, they hold their fucking mud. But I just wanted to get some run time on this bastard to make sure everything's okay. It is. It's just on down. That's the only funny shit I see is them fucking stud girdles move down on me. Kinda odd. They're new old stock Harlan Sharp and new old stock Lanati rocker arms. A lot of this shit's old, but it's new old shit, been sitting in a fucking speed shop or a warehouse somewhere for decades. That's the way I like to buy shit. Those are Lanati valve springs. Those are 1/6 rockers, intake and exhaust. I just took 2 half sets, used the other 8 Harlan Sharps. They were 1/6 ratio. They got used in another engine, like on a intake side. And the same with them Lanatis. They were 1/6s and they were used on one side or the other on another build. So these are ones I had left over and just made a fucking set out of them. Shit works. This engine will tack up pretty good. Not have no valve train problems. It's got your GM fucking spider hold down to dog bone setup. Your comp cam lifters. They're right at the cusp of being too much for the setup. One of them manly push rods. Those are supposed to be limited travel comp lifters, so they don't have a shitload of room to pump up, so they'll turn slightly higher RPM than your typical shit. Basically, you just want to go over everything, tighten everything up, check the torque on everything, tighten the oil pan up, timing cover, go back over and retorque the fucking heads, go over the valve train, reset all that shit. success. Starting to get fucking cold around here, so I ain't been doing much lately. Waiting on parts. A fucking disc brake set up for my 9-inch of my Camaro. That shit is gonna take so much fucking grinding and cutting, and the amount it needs, it looks like it's gonna weaken the brackets, so I think I'm gonna do something different on it. Might just fucking go with drum brakes and go with like early 70s Chevelle drum brakes. Call it good. I got a 12-bolt rear end laying around. I can use that disc brake conversion on. And you can adapt them to G-bodies. I got a 12-bolt under my 86 Bonneville. It's custom control arms that have slightly different bends and shit. And they use Heim joints. But it's got a fucking 71 12-bolt bolted in it. It's like an inch wider on each side. But I got some Krager Super Tricks on it with like 6-inch backspace, so they're 15 by 8.5 wide with a 6-inch backspace, so it works out. Yeah, you run these fuckers in, you get them to a point you know they're gonna be alright, and then you start fucking going back over everything, tighten everything back up, go back over the fucking valve train. And shit's a hassle, but you adjust enough rocker arms. Shit, I can knock these out in 30 fucking minutes. Using the exhaust open and intake closing method is what I prefer. I've seen other people's tricks and shit, but some cams that shit works on and some don't. So if you use the vice grip, just go through and tighten them all down, turn the engine, tighten them down, turn the engine, tighten them down. I've done that, but on one engine, just to try it, ended up with a couple loose rockers, so I just go back to what I know, the old exhaust closing intake, or exhaust open, intake close method, EOIC. That's the timeless method. It works. You just go one cylinder at a time. But get all this shit tightened down, get the valve train readjusted. Throw the intake back on it. Get it ready to drop in the car. See how it's gonna act. I use these 1 7/8 headers. I got on this block here. They'll go in the car. Turbo headers. I'm gonna go building a twin turbo small block. I already have all the shit to build it. And I was gonna build it with a production based block. but I hate to say it, but them fucking Speedmaster blocks, they're down to about $1,800 now, and they'll take a couple of thousand horse. Old Billy Hodgkinson of SRC, that's what he was using in that S10, and he's cranking out 1,500-1,600 horse on that unit. He had the old Speedmaster block in it, so $1,800. By the time you take a stock block and prep it for 1,000+ horsepower, you damn near 1,800 deep anyway. The billet caps and all that shit, and the half fill, and fucking tapping and filling all the deck holes and shit. Everything studded and line honed, and plus probably a fucking girdle. I mean, it takes some shit to make a production block take 1,000+ horsepower. And I'm wanting, with my small block set up, I want at least 1,200 horse. I'm going to use a couple of T70s or 78, 75s, or I have several pairs in stock. I'll just try them all till I get the best results. Got a couple of GT45s, but them fucking things weigh about 40 pounds a piece. So there's 80 pounds hanging off the nose. Now, I don't like adding weight. Those T70s are pretty lightweight. A couple of them would probably make 1,200 horse turned up. But that's what these headers here are for. They're going on my twin turbo small block. And I'm just going to drop this unit in the 79 Cutlass, and you got these Rosso solid motor mounts. Bolt right in. I ain't decided what I want to do on a transmission yet. Thinking about fucking giving the old 350 turbo a try again. I used a few back in the day and broke them, but that was decades ago, and they make some better shit for them these days. I got this fucking adapter to adapt it to an engine stand. So throw that unit on an engine stand, dig in, and I might go with that motherfucker. If I can get it where it'd take 600+ horsepower, it'd be fine. And they got a good gear spread. Probably about the best gear spread for drag racing as far as automatics go. 350 turbo, only thing is the strength. But like I said, they got shit now to make them stronger. And if that ain't enough, I got this fucking 475 out of an RV buried under all that shit right there. Turbo 400 with straight cut gears. Then I got this old Borg Warner here. This is over the counter service replacement. It's got the bow tie. And it's got the bow tie. This has got face plated gears, 4340 gear set and shit. And it's got the, what was it, a mystery gasket slick shift conversion or some shit, where the dog legs or the synchros are ground off like every other one, where you can take off with the clutch and then shift without the clutch, like second to third and third to fourth. This old transmission here, they were known to take some shit. This one was behind a 409 SS Impala, which they used the same ones in Corvettes also. But this fucker had me confused when I first bought it, because the dates on them and shit, and this is obviously a Chevy Borg-Warner transmission, but they were supposed to be cast iron after 62, and this is a 63. It's got a 63 date code on it here. 11/4/63, so that's damn near 64. And it's aluminum. And they wasn't supposed to be. But further research, back in the day, people with the 409, what were they? 400 horse, 409 horse, 425 horse, 409s. People were tearing the transmissions up and taking them back to GM to have them warranted. And this was the unit they would put in its place. So it was upgraded. But this one's been further upgraded. This came out of an old drag car back in the day. This had clutch dumps at 7,500 plus RPM, so it's stronger than it should be. Got a Hurst super shifter. It was an old ass fucking shifter. I restored it years ago. Got the short. Got the correct fucking knob. Yeah, it's got the short, quick shift, adjustable stops and shit. So you shift like fucking wet dream. It's a pretty good old transmission. I could stick that in the Cutlass. I fucking saw a manual trans conversion kit for a G-body for $400, so it wouldn't take much. I got a lot of manual trans shit laying around, so it wouldn't take much to put it in that car. It's just decisions. I'll probably end up just building that fucking 350 turbo there with some red frictions and choline steels and good sprag and a manual valve body. Good torque converter. Got a BTE 5000 stall converter. The 8-inch. So I might just stick that fucker in it. Plus I already have a tubular cross member made for a 350 turbo. There it is. That's what I've been working on. 357 small block Chevy. Tighten everything up. Go over every nook and cranny. Fucker's got good oil pressure. The oil pressure gauge I had on it was wrong. I put a correct one on it, and it holds about 60, 65 pounds at idle, about 80 with under load. So that'll be fine for what I'm trying to do. 357 should run pretty good in that car. But there it is.